All right, everyone, it's taken many months, but the liberals seem to be forming a consensus around their explanation for the disastrous loss of the 2024 election. Also, Hillary Clinton apparently opined around that time that it was a bad idea to allow Joe Biden to actually continue running. Of course, he did end up dropping out after the most disastrous debate performance of modern times. I mean, it makes horses and bayonets and killing Big Bird look slim by comparison. Uh, it's legendary. It's entered the annals of history. It's the defining moment of Biden's presidency. It's the final capstone of a presidency that was always dysfunctional and made no sense. But the analysis that they're making is completely wrong. Here's why you lost in 2024. Number one, okay, admitted. Joe Biden was always a poor candidate choice because while he had the incumbency and while he's still capable of standing most of the time, he was a very poor debater. It was clear that he had cognitive decline to any reasonable, rational person. We all knew that years before the debate happened. It was quite obvious. He's randomly going off on people and doing like angry man stuff at basic bitch questions and tripping up the stairs and stuff like that. So Joe Biden would play a role in the 2024 defeat of the Democratic Party. But there are so many other reasons. Number two, Kamala Harris. Swapping him out for Kamala and letting her take the floor, especially at the 11th hour, was a disastrous mistake. I still hold to the belief that Joe Biden, if he had had a second debate with Trump, he could have maybe he's having a good day. And so maybe people say, okay, thank goodness. It was just a one-off bad debate performance or something like that. With Kamala, though, she didn't have time to organize. She was running up against actually several state Democratic functions. They weren't communicating with each other. So the organizational capacity was somewhat reduced, and the Democrats really need that. She is very dislikable, and so that sort of helped things go along. The economy is another thing. While Joe Biden cooked the economy, the economic problems under his administration were not entirely his fault. This can be out of the hands of a president of the United States. I know that the buck stops here, but the economy became one of the main issues, the border became one of the main issues, and he didn't address them. So that's on him. But as far as those issues in general, part of it wasn't actually his responsibility at all. So you can't put everything and lay all the blame at Biden's feet like they're trying to do. Also, the Democrats have another problem. They keep stubbornly embracing the far left. They're letting people like Mamdani and Elon Omar and AOC and Bernie Sanders at the local and state level run roughshod over them because the same left that they wined and dined, it's sort of like, let me plant some seeds and I water them and I nurture them only to find shit. I just grew a ton of poisonous and thorny plants. That's what the left is to the Democratic Party. It's their bed of thorns, basically, which they're now thrashing around in wildly. You brought a bunch of especially younger leftoids on board. And when they started absorbing seats in various congressional districts, even a few Senate seats and so forth, certainly gubernatorial and mayoral offices, and you said nothing. You sat by and said nothing. You're still not really doing anything about it. The closest you got was Nancy Pelosi at one point criticizing AOC. But she didn't continue criticizing her because AOC shot back and Pelosi didn't want any problems with her. The far left has grown more powerful within the Democratic Party. Well, American people have rejected this sort of idpol, DEI, CRT, government-run grocery stores in Mamdani's case, and things like that. We've rejected it. Independent voters widely reject these policies, but they're now associated directly with the Democratic Party, and they were at the time of the election as well. These were already becoming big issues, abortion with Northam and things like that. So all of these play a role as well. I do not believe that Joe Biden would have won the election. Just to be clear, I agree with pretty much every other commentator in saying I think he would have lost. But I don't think it would have been as catastrophic a loss as you got with Kamala, especially given that Biden was less inclined to directly interact with far leftism, uh, because he's actually himself not a far leftist. He was the architect of the tough on crime bill in 1994, for Christ's sake. He's not a far leftoid. He just did what neoliberals have been doing, and that's one thing I pointed out, which is namby-pamby them, make them promises or outright ignore them and say, oh, just let them blow off some steam and stuff like that. You should be actively trying to quash them out of the party entirely because it's become dead weight at this point and it's pissing off every independent voter in the country. But the Democrats refuse to do that. I think that's the single biggest reason why the election went so terribly wrong for them. I think that it was mainly the existence of people again like Elon Omar and Mamdani's and of the party, people like that, and that dude Fateh, I think his name is in Minneapolis or Fattel, I can't remember. That's I think the number one reason. All of these other issues are subjugate to the fact that the Democratic Party is going along with the policies of the left, or at least claims that it wants to during election season. That turns off the Union Dem vote. It's increasingly turning off, oddly enough, the youth vote. The youth is becoming more far right, actually, than anything. You see a polarization, but the number of Gen Zers that identify as conservative or independent is much larger than the millennial cohort. We're the middle agers of the voting body. It's people in their 20s that knock on doors and shit like that, and they're getting turned off from the Democratic Party. No, really? When you warmonger and wreck the economy and provide absolutely no solutions or a counter rebuttal to what the Republicans are proposing, that's another problem, by the way. No shit. Intelligent people don't want to vote for your political party. And I think that's the final issue, the final reason, was that the Democrats never formulated in a coherent sense what they wanted to do different from what Trump wanted to do. He said, I want to do X, Y, and Z, plus ABC, and not in the LGBT sense. The Democrats said, Orange Man bad. That was their rebuttal. Well, that's not really a platform. That and, hey, I think that you should be able to perform third trimester abortions with your teeth. That's basically their platform for the last election. I'm so surprised that you lost in such a staggering fashion. Kamala couldn't even win the popular vote, and she's a Democrat. Typically, they do win the popular vote. Um, didn't even come close. It was quite a gap, actually. So those are some of the reasons, but the liberal media, for the most part, just wants to blame Biden because he's sort of out of the picture. So he makes the perfect scapegoat. He's not really doing the public thing for the most part. I mean, he can barely walk at this point, so that's not a surprise. So they can simply lay the blame at his feet and ignore all of the other glaring problems, glaring issues with their party and with the way the campaign was conducted in the most slipshod, bizarre fashion that I think that I've witnessed actually in my lifetime. I mean, the only thing that comes close was when Mitt Romney was technically within striking distance of Obama, but then all of a sudden at the end of the race, he basically disappeared. He wasn't making any appearances. He was just sitting there twiddling his thumbs while Obama's out campaigning 5,000 times a day. That didn't go over so well with voters now, did it? That's about all. Peace out.